That's all out of my control, so I don't really worry about that. I'm excited to have him on the team and the other guys as well that we drafted and picked up. I think it's going to be good. Competition brings out the best in all of us, so I'm excited about that part.
Brissett, seasoned veteran, he's been in this spot before, certainly. What can you tell us about the expectations, though, for Drake Maye in New England?
Laura, I think this team is going to be patient. You heard Jacoby Brissett talk today about being patient. That would be the Patriots' game plan. Now, the question is, what happens if they're not winning games and Jacoby Brissett is not performing and the fans are getting restless and the organization doesn't want to wait till see what they drafted with the number 3 overall selection in Drake Maye? That's the only thing that can get in the way. But most people around the league all believe that Drake Maye needed some time. And we look at the success that Patrick Mahomes had by sitting behind Alex Smith in year 1. We look at the success that Jordan Love had by sitting behind Aaron Rodgers early in his career. And this is a game plan that the Patriots would love to be able to duplicate with Drake Maye. It's one thing to say in May, it's another thing to actually follow through with it in November and December. But ideally, Jacoby Brissett would be the Patriots starting quarterback. Drake Maye would be the backup quarterback. He would grow, learn, improve, and be ready to start in 2025. Let's see if that game plan holds up once the regular season rolls around.
Yeah, Adam, a reminder, too, that Drake Maye is 21 years old. He only had 2 seasons as a starter in college, so some experience needed either way. Let's stay on the draft, you guys, with both Lewis and Booger. They did an incredible job on our draft night ESPN broadcast. They were in the trenches on all of this. Let's find out what some of their favorite picks were. Lewis, we go to you first. Give me your favorite pick from round 1.
Yeah, it would be Nate Wiggins from Clemson, who was drafted 30th overall by the Baltimore Ravens. Look, I don't think there's any football team in the NFL that understands exactly what it's looking for in the makeup of a player, regardless of position, than the Baltimore Ravens. Their philosophy has been entrenched for years, since Ozzie Newsome took over there in the late 90s. And Nate Wiggins fits that perfectly. Big, long, rangy in terms of his body type, over 6'1", fast, 4'2" in the 40. A guy who is scheme diverse. He can play man, he can play zone, he can play press, he can play off. And here's the most important thing. He will hit. He will run and hit. And that's what Baltimore Ravens defensive backs do. That's what Baltimore Ravens defenders do. There's no better time than sitting and talking football with John Harbaugh, the head coach of the Ravens. And this guy, as soon as he was picked, Booger, remember we were on the set, I said, this guy plays like a Raven. I can hear it right now in their draft room. They're saying, this is a Raven. This is a prototypical Raven. I think scheme, obviously fit is the most important thing when you're talking about any player. Nate Wiggins fits perfectly into Baltimore's culture, I believe.
Yeah, that's the first thing you said, Lewis, was, man, this kid plays like a Raven. And I like the pick, especially if he's going to be in there around 185. For me, it's going to be Byron Murphy, the defensive tackle. So kind of like me, in 1999, I was the first defensive lineman picked at 15. Byron Murphy goes to the Seattle Seahawks. I believe it was 16, the first defensive tackle pick. And his ability to be physical, his ability to have that knockback, his ability to come off the football and penetrate and get into the backfield, I just love how he plays. Normally, you don't get the first defensive tackle pick this late in the draft, but because there were 6 quarterbacks to go in the top 12, you got the first defensive tackle pick. And I think he's not Aaron Donald, because there's only one Aaron Donald. But if you were looking for a guy who could play the 3 technique position and get upfield, who was going to play like his hair was on fire, you got the guy in Seattle. I can't wait to watch him play.
Yeah, I love it. I love the pick. And again, when you kind of take it bigger picture, like Mike McDonald, right, is the new head coach out there in Seattle. Where does he come from? Well, coincidentally, he comes from Baltimore. What kind of player did they have in Baltimore that they really developed into being that kind of knockback, take a gap, create confusion, create disruption in the backfield? They drafted Justin Madubuike and developed him in Baltimore. That's exactly what Byron Murphy reminded me of, and we talked about that on set too. If he can develop into that kind of guy to where he has all the physical tools, you just kind of get him coached up on situational awareness, hand use, understanding where the quarterback is, getting him on the ground, and he becomes a pass rush force. It's a home run pick for him. I like the pick.
Yeah, now you guys did all kinds of great work, obviously, on day 1. But day 2 is when teams really become what they're going to be and when you all do your best work, I believe. So let's do your favorite day 2 pick. Lewis, you go first.
Yeah, this one's easy for me. Edgerrin Cooper from Texas A&M, Laura, who was drafted in the second round by the Green Bay Packers. I got to see him play live twice this past year. And I'll tell you what, every time I saw him, I was screaming up there in the box about just how athletic and fast and diverse and 3 down and how important these kind of guys are in the NFL. He reminds me of Fred Warner. I have a feeling he's going to have that kind of impact because he can do it all. And we're talking about Fred Warner, the All-Pro from San Francisco. I know that's a lofty comparison, but this guy can do it. There is nothing he can't do. He was challenged preseason this year. There was a chance he might not have even been starting at Texas A&M this year. They put the hammer down on him and said, look, you need to step up. He responds by having one of the best seasons of any off-ball linebacker in all of college football.
Yeah, he's extremely athletic. I got a chance to see him train down here in Tampa with my good buddy Yo Murphy at House of Athletes. And it's amazing you and I are sharing a brain, Lewis, because you went with one linebacker. I'm going with another one, Peyton Wilson from NC State. People think he's the best linebacker in the draft. Now, I understand the injury history, but it's because of how he plays. He plays like he's shot out of a cannon every single play with no regard for his body. You talk about a linebacker that's 6'3", 230 pounds, ran 4.4 in the 40. I'll say that again. He ran 4.4 in the 40 for a linebacker. The only key for him is, can he stay healthy? Now you put him next to Patrick Queen in Pittsburgh, and I think what you have is you have two linebackers that solve the issue that they've been looking to solve for a long time in Pittsburgh ever since Ryan Shazier got hurt. That's a guy in the middle of the defense that can go sideline to sideline. They not only have one, they have two. And the speed in that defense now, my goodness, Mike Tomlin has something to work with in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it's interesting. Both of you talking about some defenses that historically have been great. The Ravens defense gets even better, to Lewis's point about earlier. And then, Boog, you're talking about this Steelers defense getting a lot better as well. The rich get richer when it comes to the way that they draft, but they have a formula and they had a plan, and probably it's going to pay off.
Odunze. Brian Thomas Jr.
Thomas wide open, touchdown!
Xavier Worthy.
Oh my goodness, record speed.
Ricky Pearsall, Xavier Ligon. That closes the first round. Thank you, Detroit.
So many talented wideouts went in this year's draft. Let's continue our Wideout Wednesday with how they fit into their new offenses. Booker, what do you think of Marvin Harrison Jr. with the Cardinals?
I think he's going to be outstanding. I think if you look at what they like to do as far as Kyler Murray and distributing the football to a number one wideout, just think about when he had DeAndre Hopkins, how he got the football to him. Marvin Harrison Jr., by some, was the best wideout in the draft. He can do it all. 6'3", 215 pounds. He can go up, get the 50-50 ball. He can run precise routes. He learned from my former teammate, Marvin Harrison Sr. He understands the nuances of route running and how to get open, and he'll provide a big, steady target for his quarterback, Kyler Murray.
Look, the Giants thought about a quarterback, but went with Malik Neighbors. Lewis, how does he fit there?
They need a true number one, Laura. And by number one, I mean a guy who can win outside first when everyone knows that you're going to him and you put him out there on the boundary. Can he win? Even though he doesn't have the body type of a prototypical X or Z, he's a beast. He's strong, he's physical, he's fast, he's got great run after the catch. He can win outside. Then when you put him on the inside, you see right there on that slant and go. I mean, he did that over and over and over again. And then when he put the ball in his hands, his run after the catch is like Deebo Samuel. I mean, this is a guy who's much faster. So right now, if you're Daniel Jones and you subscribe to the belief that Daniel Jones just needed more weaponry, like his own owner said, and John Mara, who said that they did everything they can to screw him up, well, now they're trying to kind of reverse that and give him some weapons finally. And Malik Neighbors is a great start to doing that because this guy is a true number one and he knows it and he believes it.
Be fun to see him in that Brian Dable offense. The Bears took Rome Odunze to pair with number one overall pick Caleb Williams. Look, what do you expect out of Odunze this season?
I just think he's going to provide a lot of comfort for Caleb Williams, Laura. Think about this. Think about even leading up to the draft, he and Caleb Williams were throwing the football with each other. So there's a rapport that's already been built. They are comfortable with each other. They're friends, and it's nothing against what they have there in Chicago already. Nothing against Keenan Allen, nothing against those guys. But when you bring in a guy, a quarterback, as the number one pick, he's coming to a new city. He doesn't know a lot of people. So bring in a guy that he's comfortable with. And oh, by the way, he's one of the more talented players in the draft, the king of the 50-50 ball. Anytime Washington needed a play made, they got the ball to Odunze, whether that was down the field, whether that's on reverses like on a 4th and 1 in a crucial game. They got him the football. He will be an additional playmaker for that offense in Chicago and a friend to Caleb Williams, both of them being in a new city in Chi-Town.
Yeah, everybody knew Odunze was getting the football, and they still couldn't stop him. With Calvin Ridley's departure, the Jags took Brian Thomas Jr. Lewis, what will Thomas Jr. do for Trevor Lawrence?
Again, that three-position player, which really does define what a true number one can be. Well, they got Gabe Davis on the outside to be like their outside lane go-ball guy. They got Christian Kirk to work the slot primarily, almost exclusively. Well, now Brian Thomas Jr. can do all three, and you saw him do that at LSU. That's the mark of a true number one. He's got the length on the outside.